I am Stephanie Sage, President and CEO of Sage Restoration. Today I am starting my new show. It's a little bit of an experiment, and Pat Wertzberger, my first guest, is here with me today to help try to kick this off. I'm calling it the Sage Spotlight. The reason I decided to start this little show is that I've always loved interviewing people, and I've been thinking a lot about how blessed I've been and my company Sage Restoration with the growth and success we've had over the last 8 years. And I thought, wouldn't it be great to somehow give back to all of the people that have helped us along the way and that we've helped as well. So I thought I'm going to start interviewing some really successful people like Pat here.
Thank you.
You're most welcome. And also I want to do this kind of as a mentorship to people who are just starting out, who are not sure really how to go about starting their business, growing their business. I thought this would be a good way to help people learn how we did it.
Absolutely.
Pat and I met 8 years ago.
Yeah.
And we have grown our businesses a lot. So Pat, go ahead and tell the audience what you do.
I'd be happy to, but before that, I want to thank Stephanie for having me on and congratulate you for all the success that you've had over the 8 years we've known each other.
Thank you,
It has
Pat.
been very, very cool to watch that growth.
I love watching how your agency's grown.
Thank you.
Awesome.
But to introduce myself, as Stephanie said, my name is Pat Wertzberger. I own Farmers Insurance, the Wertzberger Agency, an agency we started back in 2009. And so we are in Overland Park, servicing Kansas and Missouri, and we employ 4 individuals that help us run and grow.
Awesome. And you've been in business, you said, how long did you start?
We wrote my first policy March 5th, 2009. So started from zero.
Is that your birthday?
It is my birthday.
Oh, that's
and
cool.
that was not my own policy. It just happened to be a friend of mine who was buying a house, and met with him, and the stars aligned that it's an easy date for me to remember.
Yeah, that is. That's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and then Pat and I met it was actually a B&I group.
Yep.
Is how we met.
At the time, it was a B&I group. It's ran its course and had some transition, but it was a very key factor in the growth of our office over the first 5 years, continues to be, because a lot of those relationships that we both formed are relationships that are still very strong to this day, and very, very productive relationships, mutually beneficial relationships over time. So it was a great group.
Very long-lasting relationships, and that's one point I want to note to anybody that's looking at starting a business. I often think to myself, I think I would have gone out of business in the first year or two if I hadn't have started networking and joined. I'm not here to push B&I, but just saying in networking groups where you can build those key relationships.
Yeah, the networking has always been a huge aspect of the nature of my new business development. Every insurance agency is going to be different as to where they see the most productive use of their time and money. And just with me personally, it was definitely towards getting out of the office, shaking hands, and meeting people and forming those relationships. And the B&I was just a good avenue to help that. But there's certainly other groups, chambers and rotaries and similar networking groups, but it's just a matter of forcing yourself to do the activity and actually get out there and do it. Yeah.
Well, and then there's also a lot of the group can give you validation, because I know I always joke when I started out, hitting the streets and trying to get work, I was like, I'm here.
Yeah.
You it's not that easy just to get handed work. What?
Exactly.
I mean, I wasn't that naive, but I think you can be a little bit overly optimistic sometimes on how easy it's going to be, and it really isn't easy starting and growing a business. It takes a lot of hard work, time, and building relationships. And those people can give you validation and refer you to people they know, so that trust starts building, not only in your group, but out when you start doing business and getting referrals from your customers as well. Let's see here. Okay, who do you think's lent you a hand up along the way? I mean, is there anybody, mentors, other business people?
Well, there's been a lot of factors as far as key people that led to our success. And the networking group that we were in was probably a huge one. I always sing my wife's praises because, as you know, starting a business and the money and time that you have to invest, if you don't have a supportive cast at home, it doesn't happen. And so my wife, Jen, was huge in allowing me and us to invest everything that growing the business needed to have. But in kind of combination with that, I think a lot what led to our success has always been just my work ethic and the way that we approach the way that we do business. I really embrace the advisor role that we're in with our industry. I never want anyone to feel as though they came and sat down with me and were sold something. I really want to help anyone discover what their needs are and what's going to be the best fit. If we can provide that, awesome. We would love your business. That's, of course, what we're here to do. But we don't want anyone to ever experience that they were sold something.
Right.
We don't want them to experience that we did something that was in our best interest. And I kind of feel like that is the stereotypical salesman.
Right.
And so it's that approach that leaves a consumer with a good experience, regardless really of if they purchase from us or not. But it's also that approach that has allowed us to be as referable as we are over the years within the group, with the realtors and lenders that we work with. They are very comfortable sending their clients to us because they know that I'm not going to sell them on anything.
Right.
I'm going to be an advocate for them to help them compare options, to help them get what they need rather than something that I can sell.
Right, or makes you more money.
Exactly.
And I will speak up on Pat's behalf that, you know, through the years you've referred work our way. We truly appreciate that. But I have seen firsthand where Pat gets involved with the customer when they have a water damage claim or worse, fire damage. I know that you're in conversation with the customer, helping them through that process, because it can be really overwhelming for a homeowner who's never experienced any damage to their property, and they don't know what to do. And there are insurance agents out there that don't hold the customer's hand like I know Pat does. And I think that says a lot for Pat and his agency. Is there some tips that you can give homeowners when they're shopping for insurance?
Well, I always say trust the referral that you receive. Hopefully that's to us, but if you're working with a real estate agent or lender that is comfortable with another resource, great, trust that referral and be open with that individual, because the last thing you want to do is go online and try to put something together yourself, because insurance is a different language that I now speak, but the general consumer doesn't really know what they're picking out. And if you're going online or just kind of going through the phone book and having stuff emailed to you, it just naturally leads the focus to be on the price, which of course is important, but the last thing you want to do is purchase something that you don't realize has a huge gap in it somewhere, because it can lead you thousands of dollars out of pocket.
Yeah, we see that firsthand.
With basement cleanups and stuff like that's really important. So if you're referred to someone, trust that referral and give that individual the benefit of the doubt that they're really going to do what's right for you, and so
and make sure that you're properly insured. Like we come across situations where people have water backup and they may not have sump pump coverage or drain backup coverage. I'm trying to think of some others, or just proper coverage for their contents. Is it replacement cost?
Yes, definitely what you want. And we come across that all the time where we're reviewing someone's current in-force policy and discussing the build of the home with them and what their policy is doing for them, what it is not doing for them, and it's typically a light bulb moment for them. Oh, I didn't realize it was doing that, or I didn't realize I had that deductible, or I didn't realize I didn't have that coverage. Yeah, I really need that. So the conversation with your provider when you start the policy is really important, but that open line of communication as time goes on also needs to happen, because we deal with a lot of people that finish their basement and don't tell their insurance provider, and the insurance provider may not know that they need this basement
extra
backup.
$25,000.
Exactly. Yeah. And so really see your insurance provider as someone on your team. And so I don't typically recommend online providers because it just moves the focus away from the relationship that's so important to me
or
and
asking
to our
the right
clients.
questions.
Exactly.
Because even though you have a questionnaire, it may not be asking all the right questions or experiences that you see or we do that consumers face when they have a tragedy in their home. And I want to say too, just if anybody has questions that's watching, feel free to type those out, and we'll try to answer any questions that you have. Let's see. And then I guess, how have you helped others? I know that you've definitely helped a lot of people in their quest for success.
The B&I, not to promote B&I anymore, but B&I's motto was always the giver's gain, and I've always really tried to embrace that with where we can benefit others. We do our best to refer to you in your line of business, but we also are a very giving resource for roofers and plumbers and other tradesmen, and going along with that, with the networking groups, leading with how you can benefit another. And so that's one way that we try to benefit others, just in knowing that the giver's gain will over time amount to more for us, really, but also in working with newer agents within the district or within the area.
Mentorship, you do mentoring.
When I started, and to this day, we have a very, very supportive cast within the Farmers family, so we have a lot of people to lean on. But those individuals, some of them have some in-field experience, some don't. But we try to be as much of a resource where we can with or for individuals getting into this profession, because getting into the profession a lot of times is drinking from a fire hose, and you don't know what you need to know, and you don't know where to put your focus. And we've been through the fire, we've came out on top, and
in fact, you're one of the top agents in the city, aren't you?
Yeah, we've been very fortunate. We've been very fortunate with our growth and success. We have been able to achieve a lot of national awards, and so we try to be a resource in that capacity.
So the role model, obviously.
It's kind of weird to think of myself in that capacity, but if we can benefit any other agent, I'm not concerned about, to some extent, they are somewhat of my competitor here locally. We really look at it as, what's good for the goose is good for the gander, or what's good, maybe that's the other way around.
There's enough work to go around.
Yeah, there's definitely enough work, and we want to do what we can to help others' success.
That's awesome, because that just obviously builds into your success.
Yep, absolutely.
It's crazy. I mean, I think back to 8 years ago when we were both basically starting out, and you didn't make a lot of money in the beginning. I know insurance is tough, and I know I worked probably for 3 years without earning any money, pounding the pavement, but we both had our spouses that worked in the corporate world to keep cash coming in the door. But it can be a lonely road, a time you're thinking, oh, what am I doing here? And you just have to keep the faith, stay persistent, because it does pay off.
I always say there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and
sometimes it doesn't look like it though.
You have to trust that it's a light, not a train coming at you.
Yeah,
and so
that's a good point.
You just have to keep the mindset long term and not focus so much on the short term. Put the work in that will have a long term result. And over the years, the light's gotten a little bit brighter, and so life is a little less stressful now. And
it's almost like the telescope. It's like,
exactly.
expands out, and now it all makes sense.
It does. Yeah.
It can be tough. So anybody out there starting a business, and don't feel free to reach out to people, because it's hard to go it alone.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine trying to start a business without, I don't know, all the resources and all the people that you meet. And that's one of my favorite things I always say about starting a business is I've met so many just so cool and amazing people that I probably never would have met if I just stayed at my job that I had before.
And these successful people are always willing to give their time.
They are.
I mean, there's definitely a correlation between a person like that and people who tend to be successful.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's kind of interesting when you think about it. Well, do you have any favorite quotes or people that you would admire?
Well, So I've gotten into a tendency on the way to work to not necessarily listen to the radio or sports radio, but I try to put myself in the best mindset coming into the office. And so I have YouTube channels that go when I'm in the car of really just motivational speeches, and I love it. It allows me to show up to the office motivated, in the right mindset. But the quote that has always stuck with me was one by Zig Ziglar. I'm sure you're familiar, but it was, your attitude determines your altitude. And
it is so true.
And in everyone's personal life and their business life, there's so much that goes on that's just outside of your control. I can't control at the end of the day what a consumer's decision is to work with me or not. I can't control industry trends. I can't control the weather. I can control certain things. And so to go through that type of experience with the right mindset is so important. So I love that that quote, your attitude determines your altitude, as far how far high you'll go in your respective field. But as far as speakers would go, I love Eric Thomas. Eric Thomas is a motivational speaker, great energy. He's really good. Jim Rohn is amazing. His message is so strong and his delivery is so good. Les Brown is another good one. And so there's a lot of people that are reoccurring on these YouTube channels that I listen to that resonate with me more than others. And those are three that I always perk up when I hear them speak.
And it's really, through the years, I think about this a lot, that I'm so much of a stronger person than I was when I started out, because you just learn to hang tough, have faith, like you just mentioned, and think positively. And that's one thing I've learned, is that you almost control your destiny by your thoughts. Over the last few years, I think that's dawned on me more and more. Like, why didn't I think like this 30 years ago? Because you learn to kind of think like that, because you want to be successful. And it's almost like you bring that to yourself and that positive energy. Don't you agree?
You have to make a conscious mental decision in some cases to, I'm just going to think positive and go through this, and
it'll all work out.
I know. And it leaves you more confident in just every scenario that you go through.
It's awesome. Gosh, great minds think alike, right?
Absolutely.
Let's see here, and then, so what is how would you define success? Because everybody has different definitions of success.
That's tough, because so many things, you can't really measure success. I don't really have a measurement of success based on what income I'm shooting for, based on how many policies I want to have, how many clients I want to have. When I look at what I measure success with, it is all about balance for me. And what I mean by that is it's important to me to be a very good dad. And so I want to make sure that my work-life balance is very good. I want to have a successful running business, but I also want to be there for as much as I can. I've got two beautiful girls at home.
They're so cute.
Yeah, and I can't really talk about it to too much of an extent, because it does get me emotional. I was blessed, or I am blessed, to have a dad that kind of led by that example, and he was there for a lot of my sporting events. My mom too, for that reason. She's been a working mom for quite some years, and that's important to me. That's one of the things that drew me to owning my own business, is to be able to be the master of my own calendar, to be able to be there for soccer games. And my oldest is starting kindergarten next year. I know, I can't believe it, but I'm looking forward to being able to drop her off at school every day.
Or go to little programs during the day,
absolutely,
or what have you.
To be able to do that. And so the definition of success, it's hard to determine. Now I'm successful, but the goal is just to maintain a constant focus of having a successful business, which I think I'm on the right track to do, just to kind of keep it in that direction, but to also all the while know, in reality, why I'm doing all of that. Is to make sure that I can be there with my time.
And provide a good style of living for your family and all of that.
And so I guess that's my balance. My awesome definition of success is a good balance there.
Yeah, because I think that's it is a challenge when you're an entrepreneur and starting your own business, because you work more hours than you will ever work at a regular, day job, night job, what have you. And when you started out, you didn't have kids, which kind of was a blessing because it allowed you to build your business so you could have that life balance. Now, for me and Alan, we were like the opposite. Our kids were getting older. We went through the bad economy and thought, look, we got to do something because it's harder and harder to find decent work. So our kids were older, which a lot of the business people I know were in that same boat.
Right.
And I tend to be a workaholic, and I burn myself out. So I'm actually in the process of trying to hone in that life balance. I mean, I think that we've been able to. Well, I know we have. We've grown our business to a level where it's going to allow me to do that more.
It's nice to see some fruits of the labor, as well.
Travel some more and take more time off.
Yeah,
I need it.
That's why you're the workaholic that you are, to be able to do those things every now and again. You've earned that right, too.
You have, I burned myself out. Boy, okay, so, I think we've covered a lot. Do we have any questions, Marion, at all, or no? Okay. Well, I don't know. I thank you so much, Pat, for coming in, and I hope whoever's watched today has been inspired and has learned something about staying the course.
Yeah. Well, you and your team has become great friends of ours, great resources for ours, and happy to be involved in the Kansas City success stories. Happy to be in that. The thought process that went into that. So, but congratulations to you, and thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.